a social scientist and a researcher at LECUCA, Survey of Scenes of Use in Capitals and National Survey on Alcohol and Drugs. She has a degree in social sciences and specializing in education. She has a master's in psychiatry and medical psychology from the São Paulo School of Medicine. Warm hands for Ms. Kátia. I would also like to invite friend and partner, Ms. Clarice Sandy Madruga. Dr. Clarice is the coordinator of the National Survey of Alcohol and Other Drugs. Dr. Quirino spoke to us about that yesterday. We have a gap, a 10, 12-year gap between Clarice and me. She's the coordinator, so she is the one, she's the go-to person if you have questions, if you want to, if you want information, if you want accurate data. So let's put some speed. And who would like to start? Clarice?
There's a microphone on the table. I'm going to stand up. I prefer. I feel more comfortable. Thank you very much for the opportunity of sharing with you the results of our surveys. So, Dr. Cláudio had the idea of creating this table. We are able to gather information, and we combined 3 large research studies, and in order to be able to share with you data. So I will start talking about, so this is us. Where do I point in order to change the slides? Perfect. So I will start talking about LECUCA, the survey of scenes of use of capitals. Dr. Quirino might have mentioned that we have 2 huge epidemiologic studies funded by Cena. One of them is the UNIAD, the National Survey, and the other one is a survey of scenes of use. And it was named after LECUCA because it expanded to other cities. It has always focused on the city of São Paulo, but with the funds that have been invested, we were able to start to perform this survey in other 2 states, and I'm going to share the data with you. So, in order to contextualize, I thought it was interesting to show you a broad perspective. What are we going to do here today? I'm showing you different stages of intervention, both related to prevention and care. Epidemiologic data of general population will inspire us to create prevention strategies. It will help us think about how we're going to deal with prevention. Kátia and Dr. Cláudio, they are going to share data of people who have already been treated, people who had problems and used the services available. So Dr. Cláudio will talk about the communities and Kátia about assistance. So the major objective of this survey is to get their data of a portion of population that never appears in any study. And these people are those who face drug problems and never reach treatment. So those of you who are used to my lectures know how fond of PowerPoint presentations I am. So this beautiful illustration shows the fact that we have problems. When we work with chemical dependency, it's easy to lose the parameters that we have to work with. So when we talk about data related to services, data about individuals who are using services, we are talking about a minority. We know this in relation to illegal drugs. It's a huge minority. It's 2/3 of the subjects who start facing problems. And when we talk about alcohol, the percentage is even smaller. Only 10% of alcohol abusers join some sort of treatment. So the information is biased. So LECUCA wanted to gather data from people who have never been part of any study. And we are using the largest population in Brazil, the population of the city of São Paulo. So we had the help of UNIAD. We had counselors who have already entered the territory of the scenes of use of the areas where individuals use crack. So, these subjects, they have so many services available, but they don't join the services. So how can we improve the services in order to increase the number of users? So our main goals are here in this slide. So we need managers. We have to inspire the development of public policies so that action and planning are evidence-based. So this is how we started our survey of scenes of use. We started back in 2016. Am I speaking too loud? So we started in 2016. When Programa Recomeço had just started, it was a really hard moment at the scene of use. We were in between governments. The scene of use was extremely problematic. So in 2017, we had 2 editions. Do you remember we had that major operation that separated the scene of use, and we had the help of the United Nations, and we were able to replicate the study after the operation. And we saw how important it was to monitor the study. We kept on repeating the study, and the data was really important. Back, we were able to see the characteristics of the people before and after the operation. And the people who were there after the operation were completely different, and it really helped us to understand what's going on to this year. Then 2019, we had the pandemic, so no funds. And in 2021, with funds from SINPAD, we replicated the study in São Paulo, Fortaleza, and Brasília. So we finished gathering data in 2021 and 21 and 22. We gathered the data of the scene of use of São Paulo after vaccination started, so it was a scene safe project. And then we analyzed the scenes of use of Fortaleza, which is completely different. And one of the most important things about broadening the scope of the study is to see how specific and unique each city is. So we understood that scenes of use vary enormously. Of course, we have scenes of use in almost all of the Brazilian big cities, but they differ from each other, and the scenes of use services in a different way in each context. So we have a very hybrid community. In São Paulo, the crack users that we see in Cracolândia doesn't exist almost anywhere else in the rest of the country. Most of the scenes we've been having contact with show that people hide themselves to use drugs. Here in São Paulo, crack users are like proud of using there's a sense of identity of the users there, and it's really we cannot use the word Cracolândia because it's biased, but here in São Paulo, when you talk about the people of that scene of use, they want you to address them as they want we to call the scene Cracolândia. And Fortaleza has a scene of use that is hidden. Brasilia as well, it's not that open, it's more segmented and it's smaller. And this scene has other services and forms of assistance for the population. So I am going to show you historic data of LECUCA São Paulo. We still don't have data from Fortaleza and Brasilia. I didn't resist. I was very anxious to tell you that we were able to conduct the survey in Fortaleza and Brasilia. I would like to ask you not to take pictures of the data, okay? Because it's confidential. So we need to be very careful with the data. So I ask you not to take pictures. When Clarissa says I'm not showing data that will cause problem, okay? The interesting data is not exclusive from 2021. So very quickly. So the methodology of LECUCA. What are the challenges of a survey of scenes of use? We don't have fixed information. LENAD is a survey, and we can draft homes, places, people. So how can we do this in a scene of use? It's fluid, it moves around, it changes places. We are being able to see this clearly nowadays. So we used a methodology that involved time and location. So instead of geographic spots and randomly selecting individuals, we randomized the moment in time, the interviews, and we define scene of use. This is really polemic. LECUCA always it's very famous for showing different data from the data that the municipality usually shows. So we consider a scene of use any space that has at least 15 people standing there for 3 days in a row. So this is the definition of scene of use. And every year we conduct an exploratory survey and redefine the areas that we investigate. We also redefined the type of strategy. So we consider one individual as one individual, and then we redefine the areas that we are going to occupy and how we are going to enter the area to be studied. I think this was 2016. There were many tents that were homes. We had to count before to see how many people per tent we had, and there were tents where crack was sold, and those tents had 10 people. Had 10 people per tent. So Praça do Cachimbo has always been a challenge. In the past 4-5 years, it has been a really dense place. So we have strategies to deal with high density, densely populated areas. So this is how we carry out the survey. Our responding level is really successful, and this is because our interviewers are very well prepared. At LECUCA, our professionals are the same professionals that work in the scene of use, be it at Recomeça or other services. We are talking about people who are allowed to enter the scene of use. We have to negotiate with them to enter the scene of use. So our interviewers, they have to be familiar with the place, and they have to sit down with a user and perform an interview. So our interviews are sound interviews. We interview subjects in the streets. We don't take the respondent anywhere. So our interviewers perform incredible work. They are psychologists, nurses, and taking part of the interview itself sometimes encourages the subject to join some sort of treatment. One of the questions we ask is about what's going on with the person's consumption. So during our interview, we have to have a protocol to be able to refer the interviewer, no, the respondent somewhere. So, sometimes the interview ends and the respondent says, okay, we finished the interview, but now I have to go somewhere because, I've just, I have this thing in my toe, so we end up helping to refer them to treatment. So LECUCA 21, This is not anything special, but I think it's interesting to talk about the movement of the users. The mobility of the users has always been huge within that specific area. They had, they moved around that area based on, for example, environmental aspects. I don't know if you know, but the area used to be washed twice a day, and these would change the user's routine. And I'm gonna. I really like to talk about the initiatives that have always taken place in that area. So the initiatives always intended to separate the users. But what would happen is that very quickly they would go back to the area. And I would also like to share this data, something that really impacted me. So we had an operation during the moment when we were taking the COVID vaccination. It was so beautiful. It was the city government along with USP. It was a beautiful network. And so we